Live from San Francisco, it's Channel 5's People Are Talking with Ann Fraser and Ross McGowan.
Thank you very much. It was so beautiful. Welcome to People Are Talking. What a gorgeous weekend.
It was a good weekend. A little windy, but it was beautiful. Good day yesterday for opening of boating season. Well, in all the years that Ann and I have worked at Channel 5, we have been lucky to work with the two people you're about to meet. Wendy Tokuda and Dave McElhatton are celebrating their 10th anniversary as an anchor team. And as our news director, Harry Fuller, has said, there are television stations all across the country that would kill for personalities like Wendy and Dave. And I like to think that that desire is because they're not only very good at what they do, they are quality people. To help celebrate their 10 years together on the air, would you please welcome Wendy Tokuda and Dave McElhatton.
Good folks in TV will cover till you get your microphones on.
Thank you. Till we get a little coffee.
Really? This is not the right time for you, is it?
Well, normally I'm sitting at home in my bathrobe, as you know, with my feet propped up and having my first cup of coffee, watching you, not participating.
Isn't that nice? It's always comforting to know that when we go on the air, more than likely you are sitting there in your bathrobe watching
That's right. When you look in that lens, when you look in that lens and you see those bloodshot eyes,
that's
me.
Matt.
Well,
and that fluffy bathrobe.
Every night at 6 o'clock, Ann and I are sitting with no clothes on watching the two of you.
Together. Yeah. Wait, no.
Well, that confirms several rumors. You want to write that down?
I will write that down. We're reporters, you know.
You have been together as an anchor team longer than any other anchor team on the whole West Coast, not just in the Bay Area.
Isn't that
the
something?
whole West Coast. When they were putting you all together, you know, little components, putting you together, what did you think that this was going to be, that this was going to click the way it did?
You never know until you do it. You know, you can take people that you think are ideal and put them together and the chemistry doesn't work. You two know that as well as anyone. I had worked with a series of interesting people.
Interesting in quotes.
Yeah. Some more interesting than others. And it just hadn't worked out with the last couple at all. And
You had been there, what, about a year before I got there, right?
Seemed like forever. Yeah.
It was a year, yeah, it was a year and a half. I got there at the station a year after you had started. And you had worked, by the time I worked with you, you had worked with what, 3 or 4 different anchors?
I guess 4 anchors, yeah.
Now, when you first went on the air together, let me ask you, Wendy, were you nervous?
Was I nervous? Do you remember that? It was horrendous.
But go ahead.
I mean, how horrendous was it?
How horrendous was it? My voice would be about 4 octaves higher than it normally was. I would be shaking. I just was so worried about getting through a newscast.
Now, did Dave help you?
Oh, he would literally hold my hands. During the commercials, during the commercials, I'd go, I don't know if I can do this. And he'd go, you are just so great.
You are doing a great job. You are terrific. You're going to knock their socks off.
That's what he says. You're going to kill him. You're going to kill him, you know. I go, It was awful. I mean, I was so green and so scared. And I think if I'd been paired with any other anchor, I wouldn't have made it. But I had the good fortune to be paired with someone who liked me.
And you're so difficult to like.
And I liked her. You know, she was really smart and really good.
And really scared.
And really hardworking. And the scared we could work on. The others, you know, you can't improve those others.
No.
Mac, when you first started out on television, because you made the transition, you were in radio for 25 years and people knew you as the voice of KCBS and all the wonderful programs you did there. But when you made the transition to television, was it difficult for you? Were you ever nervous?
Oh yes, the first night. You know, that you'd think that they're very similar because you have to plug in both of them to work. Radio and TV both work on electricity, so they must be the same. But working before a microphone and working before a camera are so very different. And I had rehearsed for a couple of weeks ahead of time, and talking about the voice. And so I came that first night, and the first I knew what the first story was going to be. It was the execution of Gary Gilmore in Salt Lake City. Wow. How's that for an opening?
Cheery
you know, a nice cheery news. So I knew about that story, and I'd sort of watched it getting closer, closer, closer. Got on the air. My wife and one of the boys were watching at home, and my wife and I had worked together, and she said she had never seen me nervous in a broadcast situation before, but she knew I was really uptight. And Douglas was so nervous, he left the room. He couldn't stand to watch it. He said, "Oh, it's all going to hell. We'll have to move out of the house."
Because, I mean, this man...
That's nervous.
Yeah. But you were really Mr. San Francisco when it came to radio, and to see this person they loved, maybe a little out of control, and they had never been that way before, had to be scary.
A little out of control.
Yeah.
It's strange to see a person you've been listening to on the radio. You know this because you started in radio, but it's strange to actually see them in person. Didn't you find that?
Well, nobody ever looks the way they're supposed to look.
How were you supposed to look?
Well, and on radio, when you hear a voice and you've never seen the person, there's something about it. That voice will trigger a response. You'll see they look as I weighed a lot less, had a lot more hair, was much taller on radio. And when people see you, it's sort of in fact, that was the campaign. Do you remember the campaign? No, you don't, because you weren't here. They had billboards all around the Bay Area, just my eyes like this, and it said, "Have you seen him yet?" And they turned on the set and they said, "Oh my God, yes I have."
No, they didn't.
You know, one of the things about television, of course, is how you look. And I mean, we went through our first year together. I mean, you look like a giraffe when you look down at her. You look like a little turtle when you look up at him. I mean, they were criticizing us all the time. Don't put your hands here. Don't do this. Don't do that. Did you have a lot of don't do's when you first started?
No, they were just so happy to see us not kill each other that they thought that was wonderful.
No one's...
I remember this one time. We had been working together, maybe 2 weeks or something. And our desks are together. So I came downstairs and his phone was ringing, so I answered his phone for him. You remember this? Yes. And this guy goes, "Is Dave McElhatton there?" And I said, "No, he's not. Can I take a message?" He said, "Well, listen, just tell him this. Who does that little girl who's sitting next to him think she is? She can't be Larry Moore. Who does she think she is?" Oh, it was really something. I said, "Oh, well, I'll pass on the message." But he kept going. I kept saying, "Oh, I'll pass on the message. I think I've got to go." But he kept going. So
embellishing.
Yeah, embellishing, you know. And so finally I said, you know, I don't know why I did that. I said, "I think I should tell you that I'm the little girl who sits next to Dave McElhatton." And at the time, that was how I felt.
And he said...
And he said, "Oh, well, you know, I don't mean anything personal." It's just that, yeah, it's just that, well, you know, Larry Moore was so great. And you know, Larry had a following. Sure, he had a following, and he was good at what he does. So he says, "You're so nice to me, maybe I'll give you a second chance now." I said, and I sort of felt like that a lot, coming in and sitting next to Mac, because of the stature that Mac had, and also because, remember, at the time, women anchors were just
emerging.
Yeah, I was really just sort of on the
Women anchors and Asian anchors.
None. I mean, you can count them on one hand across the country.
Barbara Tanabe.
Tanabe. Well, when I was in Seattle, and this was just before you started in Seattle. Ross and I started in the same town. But there was and I was trying to decide what to do with my life. You know, I was 23 or 24, and I knew I had to get serious and get a job, but I didn't know what it should be. There was a Japanese-American woman named Barbara Tanabe who started on TV in Seattle, and I'd watch her. When she came on, our whole family would gather in front of the set because it was this big event. I mean, you just did not see Asians. She was the first Asian on television in the news in that market, and really one of the first in the country. So we would all gather in front of the set and watch. And that was when the idea struck me. I thought, you know, that looks like kind of a fun job. And I went down and spent the day with her, watched what she did, and I thought, I think I could do this.
I should write her a letter of thanks.
I did write her a letter of thanks.
No, I should write her a letter of thanks.
Was that at KING, King Television?
Right.
Because I think when I started there, I was doing an evening talk show, half-hour talk show. I don't think you were on the air yet. Weren't you secretary to the public service?
I was in the news department, and I was doing weather, because remember, you would be sitting down, I remember this.
During the news, I'd come in and say what was going to be on our 7 o'clock show.
Right, at about, I think it was about 5 o'clock, we were on the news at 6. I would come down to put the numbers on the weather board. I was doing the weather.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was awful, just horrendous. And Ross would be sitting over there with his producer and they would be going through the format. And that's how I remember
Speaking
you
of
in
doing
Seattle.
the weather, we can't show this right now. We will in a little bit. Wayne Walker at one time did the weather because Joe Bartlett then, didn't show up. Or
No, his wife was having a baby.
Some excuse for not coming in and doing the weather. But as we go away for this commercial break, Wayne Walker right now is across the street playing some tennis. When we come back, we're going to talk with him about his experiences in the last 10 years. We'll be back with Wayne Walker right after this. Stay tuned.
Eyewitness News with Dave McElhatton.
Well, we had a fast landing there, didn't we? Good evening, I'm Dave McElhatton. Sorry about that, I couldn't resist it.
That's it. Good night and have a great weekend from the Eyewitness Newsreel.
Newsreel is already trying to make up its mind.
You're such a sketch.
I can never get through these things.
I noticed. That's it for Eyewitness News at 6. The CBS Evening News with Dan Rather is next. Now, geez, Wendy, Tokuda, have a great weekend. You'd say that if you weren't so busy laughing. I'm Dave McElhatton. Just a happy group. This Evening News is next with Dan Rather.
Have a great evening. I'm Wendy Tokuda.
I'm Dave McElhatton. We'll see you back here at 11. The nightcast if the infirmary is open.
People Are Talking is brought to you in part by Nutrisystem's Weight Loss Centers. Nutrisystem succeeds where diets fail you.
What can I say about our team? They've always been an inspiration to me. You've got the wise old news hound, and then you've got Mac.
Well, Miss Wendy, look at that look of incredulity there.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hank Plant. Wasn't that a good line? I thought that was pretty good. That was
He's
pretty funny.
hysterical.
Wait till I get a hold of him.
Another person who has been very much a part of the news team in the 10 years is Wayne Walker, who's out playing tennis right now. It's tough duty, Wayne.
Well, yeah, Ross, thanks a lot. This is we're wrapping up our anniversary week dedication to Mac and Wendy. We're wrapping up our sports challenge. We're taping our final one here this morning over at the Golden Gateway Tennis Club, and it's with Roger Crawford, who I played in Sports Challenge about 14, 15 years ago. One of the most amazing people that you'll ever meet in the world, and we'll run that one on Tuesday night at 11 o'clock, and whatever you do, don't miss it, because Roger's a wonderful person, and I know you'll enjoy this.
Well, we've had Roger on a lot of times, Wayne, and
That's
he
right.
is
He said to
terrific.
tell you hello.
Tell me, is he playing better tennis now than 14 years ago?
I'm playing better, but unfortunately, so is Roger. We got a good match going. It's 3-2. Roger's up a break right now, and we had to take time out. You may have saved me. You may have saved me from a rout with this time out.
We were mentioning earlier about Wendy was saying she was so nervous when she first went on television. Mac would hold her hand underneath the desk there in the news set. Do you remember? Well, we won't get any. Well,
I was trying to calm her down elsewhere.
Let's talk about that part of your life, Wayne. No. Do you remember the first time you went on television, and how nervous did you get?
Oh, yeah, really nervous. It was back in Detroit, and I did the weekend sports during the off-season when I was playing for the Lions, and I had to do a baseball scoreboard show, and I didn't know when I went on the air, I didn't know till the game was over, and I'd go on the air immediately whether it would be a 2-minute show or a 15-minute show. That was, and I'd get so nervous if I had to stretch. One time I was on there, and I got a nosebleed on the air.
On the air?
Yeah. That was a good one.
We also understand that you did the weather right here at KPIX and did a stellar job.
Joel was on maternity leave one day, and yeah, I was thrown into the breach, and had some excellent help with Mac, though. Mac is probably he is more Ed McMahon than Ed McMahon is, you know.
Oh, well, we have a clip of that, Wayne. Let's take a look at Wayne Walker doing the weather.
was 63 in downtown San Francisco, 60 at the airport. San Mateo had a 66, and there's our weather satellite picture right there. And why they're showing that to me, I'll never know, because my eyes aren't good enough to see it.
See all that activity?
Yeah, look at all that activity we were talking about in all those different places. Okay, all right, let's forget that. Let's come back down to my temperatures now. I can read the numbers, I can do that. Fremont 68 is 70 in Livermore, and I hope Joel's back by 7. That's the best I can do.
Good job, Wayne. All right, Wayne.
Yeah. That was all right, you know, that was all right. What I really want to do in life is not be a weather person. I really want to do the Ranger Wayne show at 6:30 in the morning. It's a kiddie program. I've been trying to put that together for years, but so far, no takers.
Wayne, how long did you play football?
15 years, so I've been here. You know what? Saturday, April 29th, marked my 16th anniversary on KPIX.
Oh, all right.
So I've been here longer than I played, and I feel like it.
Yeah. Keeps talking about this week is Mac and my anniversary, but this is all of our anniversary.
That's right, all three of us,
Yeah,
Wayne.
the three of us.
You're stuck with us.
Yeah, this is it, Wayne.
Well, you know what? It's looking back on YouTube, I'd been through about 7 anchor persons by the time Mac got there, and every time they'd bring a new one in, they'd want to rehearse. 2 or 3 days in a row, and it was cut into my dinner time. And I said, so when Mac got there, I went up to Mac and I said, I know they're going to want me to rehearse with you, and I said, I'm not going to. Don't take it personally. And he said, hey, don't worry, if I were you, I wouldn't do it either. And I knew he was okay.
You were said, quoted in an article.
My first words to Wendy, we shared an office back in the old building. My
first
words to Wendy were, don't ever bend over like that in front of me again.
He said it.
He did say it. Wait, I was trying to get you off the hook on that. You just poured it off over the air.
It's good for my image.
Yeah.
Wayne, you were quoted as saying one time that there's a real locker room mentality to TV. What did you mean by that?
There is a locker room mentality?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's what I mean is that, you know, the thing that I miss about football was you know, really not the actual playing. After I retired was the camaraderie, and you sit around and you have, you know, you gossip and you do all those kinds of things. And, you know, a TV newsroom, a television station has the same thing going on all the time. And so it's like a locker room, a lot.
Baseball, though, was your real sport, huh? I mean, that's what you loved first?
Well, when I was growing up, I was probably a better baseball player than I was football player until I got into college. And I guess if anybody would have ever figured that I would have made it as a pro athlete, it probably would have been in baseball growing up. But after you guys see Home Run Derby tonight at 11 o'clock, that's our first sports challenge. We'll probably both change our minds about that.
You were known as one of the meanest, weren't you?
One of the meanest?
One of the meanest in football.
Oh, no. I was a finesse player.
Oh, that's not what we heard.
When you broke a bone, it was with finesse, right?
Yeah.
Wendy and Dave, what do you think makes, I mean, they've done a lot of research on Wayne Walker, and they find out he's the most successful, powerful, well-liked sports anchor in Northern California. What is it?
Smart.
Yeah, he's very smart.
He's very smart.
Also, he really knows the game. He's played sports all his life, but more importantly, he is such a great person, and that personality projects. I mean, I've seen a lot of pro sports players that have gone into TV who have not had nearly the success that Wayne has, and it's because of that tremendous personality. He would be a major success in anything he tried in life.
The thing that I like the most about him is, or one of the things, is he's so funny. He's just unbelievably funny. I think you get a feel of that.
Rude and funny. It's really terrific.
You know, and there was a wonderful moment, I think it was with the three of you, and Hal, maybe you can cue this up. You had just had a baby. Oh. And the boys were back at the anchor desk doing the news, and you had just had, was it Mika?
It was Mika.
You had just had Mika Rose.
And for any woman that has given birth, you'll definitely appreciate the comment that Wendy Tokuda is about, you still want us to stretch. I mean, we're going to stretch only so far.
But Wayne Walker teased you unmercifully. And I think Mac, well, I think Mac was real supportive, but was teasing you too. So this was a scene from the hospital bed with your husband, Rich. Right. And they were asking you how it went. Let's take a look.
You absolutely look superb.
Thank you.
You look as though you didn't even pause. I mean, I can't imagine that you went through all of that.
We paused. Listen, you know, Dave, let me tell you what labor's like. Can I tell you what labor's like?
Okay.
Take your lip, go like this.
Okay.
Now pull it all the way over your head.
Okay. Can I stop now, Wendy?
But the ending to that story came a long time afterward.
Well, yeah, I was, that story made Wayne mentioned that people in the news business talk and gossip, and we do. And once I was back up in Seattle, I was visiting Jean Anderson, who's an anchor woman up there, and we were up talking, and there was a consultant there from back east, and we were talking about our kids and having babies. He said, hey, did you hear about that anchor woman who talked about going into labor and pulling her lip over her head? And Jean looked at me and said, hear about it? That's her!
So it
you're
made
infamous.
its rounds, right?
It made the rounds. Yeah, definitely made the rounds.
Are you sticking with us for one more segment, Wayne?
You know what? Rodgers Crawford wants to say hi to you too, by the way, Ross and Ann. But he's got to catch an airplane. You know, Roger does motivational speeches all around the country. Now, where are you going?
I'm going to Toledo, Ohio.
And
so
then?
I guess I made it. I'm going to Toledo. Then
Yeah.
I'm going to Chicago and to Hawaii. But I wanted to clear up something. You said that you were a finesse player on the football field. Well, you're mean on the tennis court. I'll tell you. He thinks tennis is a contact sport here. So.
Well, Roger's got a plane to catch, so I got to get him out of here. So I want to finish thumping him, or vice versa.
All right, take it easy on him, Roger.
All right, you guys.
Congratulations, Wayne, on these 10 years with Mac and Wendy.
Hey, listen, it's been my pleasure. You know, one of the great things working that station has been the two of them. No question about it. And I'll talk to you guys when I get back.
All right,
Okay.
thanks, Wayne. I also want to tell you that Wayne does a very mean, proud Mary.
Do you have tape of that?
I wish we did.
I have tape of that on my desk.
You don't.
Yeah.
We one
Someday
night
I'll
Sell it
come
to
back
you.
here and
do that.
They were doing a tea dance at the Mark Hopkins Hotel on a Friday night.
We
all went there, and they got us up on the stage, and we did a very terrible version of Proud
Well,
Mary and had a good time.
I think Wayne and I did the lead, and you guys did the doo-wop.
Yeah.
Back up. Back
We
up.
shall return to that right after the station.
Wendy, it's no secret that you and I are often confused for one another. But let's be honest, we're both different. Let's see, you do news, I do evening magazine.
Tokuda, how are you?
Hi. Your husband's name is Richard. Mine is John.
Love your show.
Thanks. You have 2 kids. I have 3 kids. I mean, we are so different. Hi. All right, Wendy. From your twin, Wendy, congratulations on 10 great years.
Mac, Wendy, and Wayne, congratulations. It's just terrific that you guys have survived as a team for 10 years. But Wendy, I have to tell you, remember Larry Moore, that guy who used to have your chair? He still has a contract out for you.
That's what I think. Larry Moore moved on to
he went
Chicago.
back to Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City, he is. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Irv Schneider.
Hi,
I
Irv.
live in San Leandro. And I just wanted to tell those two how great I think they are. During the earthquake, they helped me through a very, very difficult time. I live over in San Leandro in a sub-basement. And when my TV finally came on, there they were. And they were there through the night for me and the next day. It was a very, very rough time, and you two helped me through it, as well as Ann and Ross and the rest of Channel 5. I just admire you guys no end, and I've been with you from the very, very beginning.
Well, thanks, Irv. We're glad to know you're there.
I just hope you're going to be around for years and years.
Oh, gee, we hope so, too.
And Ann and Ross, you deserve a lot of credit, too.
All right, thank you, Irv,
Thanks,
very
Irv.
much.
Yeah. You both started, when I say the bottom of the barrel, I don't mean that, but you both started, you started as a secretary, you started as an apprentice, right?
That's right. That was a legalized slave racket CBS had.
Do you feel like you're better broadcasters because you started that way and you learned all about television from the bottom up?
I think so, yeah. You see it from all angles.
Absolutely. I had the best thing about that job as an apprentice at KCBS was I took what they call the accordion, one of these folding things that had all the mail in it. And I had to deliver the mail to every department. I got to know everybody in the station. I got to know what everybody did. And so I saw how all the pieces fit in. One of the big problems in this business is if you don't understand how it all dovetails, then you really can't appreciate all the problems that the other guy has.
Yeah, it makes you a better co-worker, too. And I think television, more than most businesses, any piece that you work on, so many different people put their hands on it. They touch it. your producer, the camera person who shot the video, the sound person who took in the sound, the editor, the person who reads the script, the person who just puts the chirons in. You know, when you, well, right there where you see my name on the screen, somebody has to write that in. There are so many people handling a multitude of details. So I think the more that you understand what each of those people go through, the better co-worker you are and the better you fit into the machine.
And also they can't con you.
Well, there is that.
Yeah. First of all, my congratulations, and you're part of our family. But Dave, I remember you were on a diet one time. What happened? You still on a diet, or you just ignore it?
Well, just take a look at me.
You're looking great. I thought at one time you looked too thin and you looked 10 years older.
And there was some concern when people saw Dave
exactly.
losing weight.
We thought you were ill.
Yeah,
and
I know. A lot
I
of
like
people
you
do.
much better that way.
Well, you know what happened? I went on the diet with my wife, and it took her longer to lose the weight, so I just stayed on the diet while she was on it. And I got down to where I weighed the same weight I weighed when I graduated from high school, and it turned out it looked a lot better on me in high school than it did in later years. But I'm still, that's the most successful diet I've been on. I'm still 15 pounds below where I started in that diet. And looking at me, you think, my God, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. What was he then?
But you feel good, Dave.
I feel terrific.
Yeah.
We shall return with more of Dave McElhatton and Wendy Tokuda after this. Stay tuned.
Mother's Day is right around the corner, and People Are Talking will be celebrating Mother's Day with a special makeover show. We would like for all the sons out there to nominate their mothers. If you are a guy age 16 or older and want to nominate your mother for a Mother's Day makeover, send a picture of your mom and tell us in 100 words or less what your mother means to you and why she should receive a special makeover. Send the picture of your mother and the letter along with your name, address, and phone number to People Are Talking, Mother's Day Makeovers, 855 Battery Street, San Francisco, California, 94111. Your mother must be available to our People Are Talking makeover team during the week of May 7th, 1990. Your mother will be made over from head to toe, and the results will be shown on People Are Talking Thursday, May 10th, 1990. On that day, you and your mother must be available on People Are Talking. Entries will be reviewed by the People Are Talking staff, and 2 winners will be chosen. Winners will be notified by phone, so don't delay. Send it today. All entries must be received by May 3rd, 1990. Photos and letters will not be returned. For more information and complete rules, call the People Are Talking office right now at 478 KPIX.
Well, you guys, you know what the #1 question I get asked when I'm out in the field? It's, whatever happened to Joel? Nah, I'm just kidding. The #1 question is, are Wendy, Mac, and Wayne really as nice in person as they are on the air? And of course, I lie. I tell them you are. Actually, I'm just kidding. Congratulations to the 3 nicest anchors I've ever worked with.
The only anchors he's ever worked with?
I think so. We won by default.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was it tough? Because Joel Bartlett was a real strong part of that team. He was part of that family.
Yeah.
Was it tough when he left?
Sure. Adjustments, it's always hard to go through.
It was a
adjustments.
business decision for Joel, and we understood it, and it was very difficult for him. But we wished him well. We didn't wish him too much well, but we wished him well. And he's doing just fine. But our lucky break was that Brian Sussman has turned out to be just a terrific person to move into that slot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mimi.
Quick on his feet.
Wendy, I wanted to ask, you talked about your looks changing and the audience dealing with them over the years, and I wanted to know if you felt the pressure more being a woman to be conscious about your looks.
Oh, I think definitely so.
You're still so beautiful. How do you maintain?
Pay that woman, will you, right now? Give her some money.
She's going into our
Whatever you've got in your pocket, give it to her.
And I think there is more pressure on women than in men to maintain their looks.
And we were talking earlier, and I was saying when I just started anchoring, you know, women were just coming in numbers, were really entering this field. And now I feel like women my age are breaking another barrier. We're pushing the wall forward. Because really think about it, how many women in their 40s, mid-40s, 50s, 60s do you see anchoring? You just don't. So I worry about it. I used to worry about it an awful lot.
10 years ago, that was a major conversation we used to have Wendy would say, well, I look too young. They're not going to take me seriously. I've got to look more mature. I don't hear her say that now, but I think she looks even more terrific now than she did 10 years ago.
But, you know, it's interesting. We've talked about this. So 10 years ago, I did say that a lot. Mac and I have talked a lot about this. There was a person who was working with me, he was our general manager at the time. We would go over tapes when I just started anchoring weekends more than 10 years ago. And we were going over one tape, and there was a factual error. And he looked at me and he said, "You cannot make a factual error. You can't make an error." He said, "Mac can make an error and people will forgive him. But people will not be as forgiving of you." And at the time that he said that, that was true. He says, "You're a minority, you're a woman, you look really young, and they're waiting for you. They're just expecting you to trip. You cannot make a mistake." And that was the kind of pressure that I felt when I started, and I think that was why I used to work. Do I look too, you know, people would say, "You look like my babysitter." And now I hate to say that. But now, it's interesting, because then I went through stages where I'd worry, oh, do I look like I'm getting older? Is that a wrinkle here? Is that... But you know something, I gotta tell you, and I mean this honestly, and I bet you can relate to this, Ann. I finally feel like, I feel now like I'm at the top of my game. I feel like my experience is working for me. And I think that the audience is smart, and I think that the audience appreciates that experience in women that are now in the news field. The kinds of judgments that I am able to do now, the kinds of stories that I'm able to do now, frankly, I was not able to do certainly not 10 years ago. All of this experience, these years of experience, are finally working for me, and
Well, I think Mimi's comment, too, is born out of the Deborah Norville, Jane Pauley situation, where it looked like, you know, Jane Pauley had been set aside because of her age.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that that's a legitimate fear of women in this industry, and I think that, you know, you do see things like that happen. I think that the Jane Pauley thing, that really bothered me.
I think the audience is smarter than a lot of decision makers give them credit for.
And it's coming back to kick NBC in the rear end for making that decision. We'll be back in just a moment.
Dave and Wendy and Wayne on the air for 10 years. 10 years ago, I was in Reno, and I would visit the Bay Area to see family, and I would tune them in on Channel 5. And I used to think, boy, these guys really seem like neat people. And now that I'm working with them, I can honestly say they're not just neat people, they're the greatest people I've ever worked with. They always bend over backward to make you look good. They always bend over backward to make everybody feel comfortable. They're not on a big head trip or ego trip or anything like that. They're fine people. And if anybody deserves to be in the business 10 years together as a team, they're the ones. So, gang, here's to another 10 years. And I'm very proud and honored to be with you as a team on KPIX.
Don't miss out on your chance to have a starring role in the People Are Talking audience. Call 478-KPIX to reserve your place in the limelight.
We all know that breaking up is usually hard to do, but some people have the class to know when and where to end a relationship. And then there are those folks who couldn't be more insensitive. Well, we're looking for people who are willing to share their stories of being dumped. Whether he asked for a divorce at a ball game or left a Dear Jane message on the answering machine, we want to hear from you. Give us a call at 478-KPIX, and we'll tell you all you need to know about an upcoming show on breakups. If you have energy on the do's and don'ts of being dumped, then this is the show for you.
I think it's great that Mac and Wayne and Wendy have been together for 10 years. I remember their first night together on the air. Now, I don't want to make anybody feel old, but I watched their first show from my dorm room in college.
that up.
No,
he's making that up. Is he? He's not making that up?
He was up there at Chico State. That's right.
Wait a second. How old is Joe Fonzie? That was...
Well, he was a slow learner. His age had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, right. He didn't mention the fact that he was still in college at age 30.
Celebrating the 10th anniversary of Wendy Tokuda and Dave McElhatton, 10 years together as an anchor team. It was about a year and a half ago, Dave, you lost your wife, Bonnie Chastain. And you say this, you were married 12 years, 12 of the happiest years in your life. It was truly a love affair, and I think Herb Cain is the one who said it was holding hands out loud.
Yeah, it really was.
Let's show a clip of you and Bonnie sat in 2 or 3 times to do our television show. And we have a clip of the 2 of them doing People Are Talking. Watch this. Filling in for Ann Fraser and me, Ross McGowan, are Dave McElhatton and Bonnie Chastain.
Well, I thought I'd come out this way because this is how I watch the show every morning.
Except at home, it's in the bathrobe.
That's true. That's true. And I look even more delightful in a bathrobe than like this. Well, we're just thrilled to see all of you made it in. This is a murky Monday morning. Did you have a guide dog to get your car in here? What a morning, huh?
It was a morning. Incidentally, it's nice to see you at this hour.
Yes.
I never see you at this time.
That's the reason we agreed to do this, because we don't get a chance to see each other during the day. The A team, as you know, is on vacation, and so that you have the B team. Here we are.
Oh. That's tough for all of us to watch, but I know it's tough for you.
Those were wonderful times.
She was a wonderful, wonderful person, and you worked not only in television together, but you worked in radio, and that's really where you met.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, it was, I had the best of both worlds. I had this wonderful woman that I adored, that was my wife and my joy, and at work I had this other woman who was just a delight. And I was really a happy camper. And I remember you saying one time that, what was it, you said, I was the other woman in Dave McElhatton's life, but don't worry, Bonnie knew all about it.
Yeah. Thank you for talking about that with us, Dave.
Well, it's a wonderful thing to have those memories.
And just to tell you what a trooper he was, Bonnie was quite critically ill at the time of our 10th anniversary.
Oh.
And David received some very serious news about Bonnie's condition, and yet he came on our show and did just an incredible job that morning, helping us celebrate our 10th anniversary show. And I don't know what else I can say, except he invented the word trooper. We'll be right back.
Well, I have a lot of great memories of Mac and Wayne and Wendy. I always wanted to work with the 3 of you guys before I started here at Channel 5, and I really owe Wendy a lot for getting my job here. Wendy and I were both hired by the same guy in Seattle. That's where we got our big start in television, Emery Bundy, King Television in Seattle. And so when Wendy came down here, I turned to her for advice when I was looking for a job down here, and she gave me great advice. I got the job. Wendy, someday I'll pay you that 20% that I promised you, or buy you dinner or something. Anyway, 10 years. I hope that we're all here 10 years from now, and just keep up the great work.
Seattle connections.
Boy, I'll say.
Wow.
Felicia, you had a question.
Yes, I'd like to know about censorship and who does it and if it's done and why.
Who censors the news?
Well, I suppose there's a matter of prudence in some stories.
Have you ever said,
self-censorship?
have either one of you ever said, I don't want to do this story. I don't think it's appropriate to put this story on the air?
Yeah, I remember stories that we have felt strongly about in that way, that we felt were either just not worthy of the airtime or, you know, the wrong sorts of emphasis and this kind of thing. But the main thing, I think, to remember here is that we are 2 people on a staff of 100-some. And Mac gets in at 3:30, and I get in now at 11 because I work an earlier shift. But the people who make the decisions, most of the decisions, the editorial ones about which stories we're going to cover, are the people who are not sitting up here right now. But all the way through the day, the news director, the managing editor, the assignment desk, and every reporter is making judgments about what they're going to include in stories and what they will not include in stories, which stories they will carry, which stories we will not carry. So we're making judgments. Where it crosses the line to becoming censorship is kind of a gray area, but we're making decisions about what we're going to have on our newscast all day long.
I think it's by Iranian and Syrian
connected terrorist in Lebanon. His whereabouts at this moment are not exactly known, but a few moments ago, confirming a previous UPI story, the State Department informed Mrs. Reed in Massachusetts. We go now to Massachusetts by videotape, and the reaction there as the telephone call came in and Mrs. Reed found out for certain that her husband was being released.
Hello? Yes. Yeah.
Who's it? Jim?
Mike Mahoney.
What did he say?
He's with the Syrians now. Oh! I don't care. He's out.
In Lebanon, when he was taken hostage 3.5 years ago, has been released. That leaves 6 Americans still held hostage. 9 or 10 other persons, not Americans, also still held hostage. Frank Reed has been released. Dan Rather for CBS News in New York.
This has been a CBS News special report.
Island in the Bahamas. Sunny beaches, water sports.
We just want to show you this book, Shiro in Love. It's written by Wendy Tokuda and her husband, Rich Hall. This is her 2nd book, and all the proceeds, I think, go to an Oakland Boys Club.
Oakland Boys Club.
Yeah. It's just talented in so many areas, it's unbelievable. Well, tomorrow, this woman's been in show business for 25 years, and she's making a comeback. Tomorrow on People Are Talking, Connie Stevens will be here. You remember her from Hawaii and I. She'll be joined by her daughters, Tricia and Jolie, and they're going to talk about what life is like inside a showbiz family.
Well, they're in her act now. I think they're either backup singers or whatever, and they're the daughters of Eddie, and that's
so
the family. We'll
convoluted,
talk about it tomorrow. Hank Plant, I believe, is in the Eyewitness Newsroom. Good morning, Hank.
Morning, Ross. And at noon, we will have more on that story that Dan Rather just reported. American hostage Frank Reed apparently has been released in the Middle East and is in the hands of the Syrians. We'll have the latest for you. In local news, the high winds that are ripping through the Bay Area will tell you when the wind tunnel might end. Plus, if you know somebody who is struggling with alcohol and drug recovery, our guest has a source of information for you that could help. Those stories and more at noon. And Ross, back to you.
Very much, Hank.
We have Patches with us. Patches is a female spayed Australian Shepherd mix. 2 years old, housebroken, and she knows how to sit, and she's very well mannered.
A showbiz dog.
Yeah, so if you'd like to have Patches, it looks like kind of like Mike in, what, Down and Out in Beverly Hills?
Down
Is
and Out
that
in
it?
Beverly
You got to
Hills.
pay attention.
Yes.
If you're interested in Patches, give them a call. Marin Humane Society at 883-4621. And some morning you'd like to be part of our live studio audience, the tickets are absolutely free. All you have to do is give us a call at 478-KPIX, and we'll send the tickets out to you in the mail.
Yeah, and have a great time. This is really wonderful. This book is really wonderful.
The first book they wrote was Humphrey the Lost Whale.
Right.
You remember when they got caught here? And very successful with that book.
And I think this is about a little dog who runs away from home or is taken away from home, I'm not sure, and then finds its way all the way home, finds its way back.
Well, we'll be
Great
doing
children's book.
different celebrations for the 10th anniversary for Wendy and Dave and Wayne Walker, and also be watching Evening Magazine and throughout the day on Channel 5. Have a good day. See you tomorrow morning at 10. Goodbye. Ann's Clothes provided and coordinated by the personal shopping offices of Neiman Marcus Union Square.
Ross's Clothes by Jay Briggs of San Francisco.
Many guests of People Are Talking stay at San Francisco's luxurious Park 55, a Park Lane hotel.
The People Are Talking audience has enjoyed pastries by Just Desserts.